Hey everyone, how's it going today and welcome to another video. So in today's video, as the title suggests, is I really just want to talk about several strategies about how you can potentially save $10,000 in 2024 or whenever you're watching this in 2025, 6, 7. But even more specifically from the perspective of someone that might be living on low income. Because let's be very, very honest, if you are someone that's making over $200,000, it is really easy to save $10,000. Assuming that you're relatively frugal and you don't have too many expenses, it's really easy to save $10,000 if you are making over $200,000, because $10,000 is only about 5% of $200,000. But on another note, if you're someone that's only making $40,000, $10,000 is going to be 25% of your income. That is really, really difficult, but very, very possible if you follow the steps that are inside of this particular video. So in today's video, we're going to talk about that. Simply put, is how to save $10,000. We're going to use math to kind of break down several examples so you guys can really get the breakdown to really understand it. And I think the big idea is that we're just going to be talking about ways that you can potentially save that money, so now you can use that money to spend it on a lot of other things. Again, from the perspective of someone living off of low income. And I speak as someone that's speaking from experience. So besides several statistics that we're going to share from articles, most of this stuff is going to come from personal experience from the heart, because I was someone that actually lived off of minimum wage for a period of time and had to save my first $10,000 while living that minimum wage lifestyle. So with that being said, let's just get this video started. But as always, you guys know the same exact drill: like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. Feel free to comment anything. It's always great just to hear from you guys, let your voices out. And with that said, let's get this video started. So we're going to start this video by maybe having to really understand the breakdown about the math, about what you have to do in order to save $10,000 in a single year. The big idea really is that in order to save $10,000 in a single year, you're going to have to break down how much you have to save per every single month. So $10,000 divided by 12 happens to be about $833. I know some people might want to break down this even further into days. So 833, let's just say there's average about 30 days per month. So 833 divided by 30 comes out to be about $27 to $28. But the big idea is that we're going to work with months, because let's be very, very honest, most of us are not going to be saving $27 per day. We might average $27 per day, but we're not going to be saving every single day. First off is that because it's going to become very obsessive to think about how much money you save every day, that might lead to potential burnout. But on top of that, the big idea is that we also happen to have slow days. Just in a very realistic situation, we have slow days, we have off days, we have days we're not really even making money. In most people's cases, that's Saturday and Sunday when we take off. But even if you're working Saturday and Sunday, hopefully you at least have a day or two that you're able to rest up. And it's because of that reason we're going to have to focus on trying to aim for a target of saving $833 per month. So that's going to be the goal that we have. It's going to be the $833 rule that we're going to try to focus and try to aim for every single month. Now, when it comes to how to actually physically save that amount of money, because now that we have an actual specific number and goal that we can measure, we're going to break down by how you can save money in every single major category of the big categories where people spend the most amount of money on every single month. And the first one is going to be housing. So when it comes to your housing, simply put is that if you are someone that's on a mortgage, you're already at least kind of on the right track, because on the mortgage basis, if you're someone, at least you're trying to save up money to kind of own that home, and hopefully if your home appreciates in value over time, you're going to basically already be able to save up, or not just save up, but actually make from the appreciation of your house more than $10,000. But say for example you're someone that actually rents, and I know we have a very wide demographic of people here. There are some people that are still young and living at home, which is really awesome. Save money over there. There are some people that are older that are still renting. But the idea really is that if you happen to be a renter, try your best to rent and find and compare the different cost of the different apartments or houses inside of your particular location and see what you can do to have the absolute best deal. If you're a young adult, maybe consider having roommates. That's going to help you save a lot of money. If you are someone that's, has a family, it might be a little bit more difficult, but you can try to potentially move into a smaller house or smaller apartment, and it's still very, very feasible, because you have to really understand that if you're renting a home, all of this stuff is no longer an appreciating asset, since you're not really buying the home, you're renting the home. And that's why for me personally, I really do believe that for most people, if you're able to save money off of your rent, you're going to be able to potentially save an average of around $400 every single month conservatively. That's already basically half of your target goal of the $833 that we're trying to go for right now. And with more things that we're going to talk about how you can save, you're going to hit that goal of $833 every single month. So definitely continue watching through for this. But that's going to be the first cost that can save you on a conservative end $400 every single month. The next cost that we really have to talk about is going to be transportation. And transportation is very major, because as we've already talked about in a previous video, which I'll link at the very end screen or in the comments or in the description that you can watch after this, transportation is one of the #1 biggest wealth killers. And there's a reason why this is a very particularly special cost or special expense that's not in a good way. So it's not in a good way. It's one of the more special expenses that people spend every single month on that is going to kill a lot of people's wealth somewhere down in the line in the future if you spend too much money on transportation. So the idea really behind transportation is that there's just so many ways on the bright side. So, after talking about how transportation is such a big wealth killer, the bright side is that there's a lot of strategies that you can save money off of transportation. I did go into this in very big detail in that video where I talk about the #1 wealth killer, about how you can save money on transportation. But the synopsis to it is that there's so many things that you can do, such as like trying to buy a used car instead of a new car, such as like trying to limit taking out a loan. So try not to take a loan when you're buying your car. Avoid Ubers, avoid Lyfts, consider getting a bike, consider public transportation, consider walking more frequently, consider biking. We already mentioned that. Even if it has to be one of those like shared communal bikes. I know many major cities such as like New York City has city bikes where you can share bikes, do like one of those bike share programs. This is something that's going to save you at least a couple $100s per month. And I know that there was a statistic out there that said that the average cost of transportation in America, and I'm reading this from the statistic, is about $819 per month. It means that in many major cities or places with high gas prices, it's going to cost even more than $819 per month. This is obviously an expense that you cannot eliminate completely. That's why we're not saving $819, because if you save $819 by never going outside and never spending money on transportation, then you're basically just spending time all day at home, which is not particularly healthy at all. So the idea really is that this is really about how you can cut your cost of transportation. You can't cut it out completely, but you can at least cut part of your cost of transportation. And in total, if you follow a lot of the things that we talked about, you can very likely save a couple $100s per month. I know parking is already about a couple $100s if you live in a major city such as like New York City. But we're gonna go with a conservative number of about $400. Again, these are very conservative numbers. So if you really live the frugal lifestyle, I really do believe most people here can save even more than that. So off of this logic already, you're saving about $400 off of housing, $400 off of transportation. That's already about $800, which is almost on the road to your target of about $833 every single month that we're trying to save. And then the next thing to really seal the deal in terms of cutting costs is going to be everything related to saving money on food. The biggest expense that we all really care about, but it's just so difficult to avoid because we have to eat to live at the very end of the day. So we definitely cannot cut food as a major cost from our budget. Unless you work for a company that provides food, then you're lucky. You know, because I know some companies provide food, but even then they're not going to provide 3 meals in most people's situation. Now, the average cost that people spend on food in most households, and again, I'm reading this off of a statistic, is that it's very hard to gauge how much money people spend on food. The reason why is because every household has a very different size. If you are a single individual, you probably spend a lot less. If you are someone that's in a relationship, you probably spend a little bit more. Unless you married someone that is a very good cook that can help you save money. Maybe a little bit more on that in a little bit. But for the average household size, it was noted the average household spends about $610 every single month on food, which is going up even more every single year because of inflation. The inflation situation that has skyrocketed a lot of our prices of groceries when we go shopping every single week or two for the food that we need. You know, and in major cities, we're talking about even more money, because in major cities, not only is it more expensive for food, but a lot of people are more inclined to try different restaurants, which means eating out more frequently. Here in New York City, an average dinner now, from personal, again, and this one's I don't have a statistic from an article here, but from personal experience, when I go out to eat here in New York City, I think we typically spend about $20 to $30 to eat out on a very conservative minimum basis. So for even better restaurants, we're talking about maybe $30 to sometimes even more than $30, especially true if you factor in the cost of alcohol. So what are some solutions that we can do here is that in order to try to save money on food, we can do things like cook a lot more frequently at home, eat out a lot less, try to cook more, eat out a lot less, try to maybe eat different kinds of food, so maybe eat cheaper, not unhealthy, because we're not trying to, you know, sabotage our health for the sake of saving money, but just simply put is to eat healthy, but simply put try to eat on the cheaper end. So for example, maybe chicken instead of beef, because chicken is a much cheaper meat than beef is. That's just a fact right there. And I think that, and also of course, spending less on alcohol, drinking a lot less, that's gonna save you a lot of money, because in major cities like New York, sometimes in some major cities, and I speak again from experience, the alcohol is actually more expensive than the meal itself sometimes. I have been to restaurants before where a typical cocktail is about $20 and the meal is about $15. Before tax and tip, of course. But I mean, the idea is that it can be really, really life-changing when you start to drink a lot less, because of financially at least. And I think that the idea really is that if you're saving money off of food, you can expect to save at least minimum $100 to $200 on the conservative low end, and even more on the very high end if you follow a lot of these steps. So when you factor all of these costs, from the $400 in housing, the $400 in transportation, and let's go with the $100 in food, you are now saving about $900 every single month. That's going to save you even more than $10,000, which is incredible. Now you have $10,000 that you can spend on something else every single year that you follow these particular steps. And I think the last thing that I really have to share really is just about the fact that this is going to be even more true, and you can speed up this process if you take that money not just to save the money, but also to consider maybe investing it. That way you can grow your wealth even further. Because again, they always say also another big thing when it comes to building wealth is that you can save a lot of money in the beginning, but ultimately to become wealthy someday, it's going to be very difficult to save your way to wealth. Instead, you're going to have to invest your way to wealth. And that's one of the biggest things to really take away. Of course, maybe we'll make a future video talking about how to invest $10,000. So if that's something of interest, remember to smash the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell so you guys can get notified when that hopefully comes out. But with that being said, that's really what I wanted to share in today's video. So if you guys made it to the end, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, stay frugal, stay saving money, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.